Welcome again. My name is Manal Zainuddin, the founder of Orbit's Development Code, a transdisciplinary approach for conscious learning and being. I speak about education from macro and micro angles, education that is never limited to schoolwork or schooling, education that is never separate from our real personal and professional world, and most importantly, that is never separate from us conscious beings. So welcome again. This video is related to the Acts of Kind Attention series, and it is about the 8th of September, International Literacy Day. Literacy, in its simple original form, means the ability to read and write and do arithmetic. However, in this 21st century, it goes beyond reading and writing to what we can refer to as literacy education, which means providing opportunities for learners or targeted groups to explore a variety of contexts, communicate ideas and insights, and bring forth one's own potential to be a productive, active, and interconnected member of our community. International Literacy Day, the ILD of 2021, is celebrated under the theme Literacy for a Human-Centered Recovery, Narrowing the Digital Divide, focusing here on the need to connect both basic literacy skills to digital skills so that no one is left behind. Now, this video focuses on youth and adults and how we can support them so that they can find opportunities to improve their lives. I proudly share also my grandmother's handwriting. My grandmother, who is right now in her late 80s, could attend only early elementary school. She was widowed at a very early age and she found herself obliged to earn the family's living. Without her early literacy skills, she could not have managed on her own. She started her grocery store around 40 years ago and has been using those below basic writing skills to manage her small business. Unfortunately, she closed that business, but for all those years, it had been very helpful for her family. From this platform, I send her all my love, my respect, my admiration, because she is my role model. Let's consider this from Orbit's perspective. Starting with O, owning our way. Considering the connection of basic literacy skills and digital skills so that no one is left behind, Literacy Day targets these two groups. The first group is that of the non-literate youth and adults aged 15 to 18 plus, who are referred to as ALE or Adult Learning and Education in relation to 5 key areas: policy, governance, finance, quality, and participation. To better understand adult learning and education, United Nations has been using a tool to monitor this field known as GRAIL, Global Report on Adult Learning and Education. Now, the latest report was issued in Hamburg, Germany, the 4th Global Report on Adult Learning and Education, Leave No One Behind, and it focused on participation. The report noted an increase in ALE or Adult Learning and Education, which is a positive indicator, but also stated that, and I quote, "Rates of participation in ALE remain uneven and progress is insufficient. Some countries appear to be going backwards, and while there has been progress for some groups, notably women, there is a discernible pattern of exclusion of vulnerable groups in many parts of the world." Unquote. Most countries have a considerable rate of adult illiteracy or functionally illiterate, as shown in the figure. The other group is children who cannot have access to literacy, and I speak about this in a separate video. You can find the link in the description. So thinking about literacy, it is a two-way path with two hard suitcases, supporting illiterate youth and adults and working on children's literacy to mitigate future risks within a framework of digital learning. So it's the basic literacy skills and digital skills for both adults and children. In a UNESCO press release on the 3rd of September, the following was mentioned, quote, "At least 773 million youth and adults globally still cannot read and write. There are more non-literate women than men, and women are also increasingly left behind in the digital environment." End quote. The press release was mainly about UNESCO's International Literacy Prizes, and this year UNESCO selected 6 outstanding literacy programs from Côte d'Ivoire, Egypt, Guatemala, India, Mexico, and South Africa. Well, as educators and parents, and if we are not directly involved in adult learning and education. The first and simplest action to take is to tell our own learners and children such inspirational stories of people who have decided to continue their learning despite all hindrances and difficulties. The second is we can amplify our attention and commitment to spreading literacy in as many ways as we can. And the easiest path is focusing on our learners and children's circle of those adults who could not have literacy skills when they were still children. If we are directly involved in adult learning education, then we as educators and parents can do similar to these types of initiatives, and we can focus more on equipping youth and adults with certain programs to help them on their path. Now, more importantly, we can encourage and emphasize the importance of learning for youth and adults because this will enhance their lifestyles and well-being. R, raising our standards. Well, one of the interesting studies by a university in New Zealand in 2005 discussed barriers that hinder adult education, and they mentioned two models. The first is the deficit model, when illiterate adults are seen from what they lack. Quote, persons with low literacy lack motivation, ability, or willingness to better their knowledge, along with what Betts in 2003 describes as the deprived voice, end quote. Now, the second is the deprivation model, which is based on the view that barriers, economic, historical, cultural, social, gender-based, or any other type of barrier, prevent individuals from improving their literacy by impeding their access to literacy classes. Now, I personally find it very important to do research and decide accordingly. I am a strong advocate of research and development because it helps create evidence-based initiatives and programs, and this is even mentioned in UNESCO's Strategy for Youth and Adult Literacy from 2020 to 25 plan. Strategic Priority Area 4 is about monitoring progress and assessment of literacy skills and programs. That's the SDG 4, Target 4.6. Quote, strengthening national capacities in establishing learning assessment systems and the use of data for planning, delivery, and accountability. End quote. So as educators and parents, we can get involved in programs and projects, donating or volunteering. And for example, European Solidarity Corps, a European program, encourages and provides for the ages 18 to 23-year-old individual and team volunteering opportunities. And I find this an excellent opportunity to assist such initiatives. So by volunteering in teaching or conducting certain workshops, we can assist certain centers in making the process more diverse and productive. B, believing in our assets. UNESCO's Strategy for Youth and Adult Literacy 2020 to 2025 also includes as one of its focus areas, quote, leveraging digital technologies to expand access and improve learning outcomes. End quote. When we carefully look around us, we will find many adults who have reading and writing skills, but they have no digital skills. And we all know that having no digital skills hinders a high percentage of work types in this advanced age. For example, even a 60-plus aged warehouse guard may need to keep inventories. Learning to use a simple Excel sheet in a simple way is preferred to keep inventories tidy and accurate. Now again, considering our blessings, the capital that we already have as educators and parents, we can, for example, donate used or old computers or laptops to this age group, especially in areas where these people cannot afford to purchase their own. Or we can also start partnerships through simple classes conducted by our learners themselves. For example, middle and high school learners can give few digital skills classes to adults as community service. And we all know how important community service is and how required it is for universities. We as parents can also encourage them to be part of this community service or even help an adult relative in learning basic digital skills. Integrating our mind and positive emotion. Again, back to the UNESCO International Literacy Prizes, which recognized 6 outstanding literacy programs from Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, Guatemala, India, Mexico, and South Africa. I find it very important to acknowledge such great efforts. When these less advantaged youth and adults are recognized, they feel proud, they feel hopeful and grateful. These positive emotions become drivers for more achievement and improvement in their overall life habits. Our role as educators and parents is to inform our learners and children about such success stories so they know that this age group is capable of achievement. Such achievements make excellent life lessons for our learners and children because they stand for perseverance, agility, dynamism, appreciation, and most importantly, lifelong learning. And this is what we want to instill in our children and learners. Tailoring to our needs and aspirations. Looking around our communities, for example, in the Arab world, there is a major project designed to combat literacy and raise awareness of the need to enhance girls' education for the enhancement of the family and society. Now, the project is Arab League Educational, Cultural, and Scientific Organization, or ALEXO, and it has notably helped reduce illiteracy. In the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, for example, illiteracy rate dropped from 60% in 1970 to less than 5.6% in 2018, and this is outstanding. And it's not only due to funding, but also due to the contributions from the private sector and individuals through volunteering and supporting. So as educators and parents, we can foster literacy skills through projects. For example, in my hometown in Lebanon, a group of ladies started an English language home learning center and communicated with a certified English teacher. They started English classes from one of the ladies' homes. And this project did not request fees. The teacher has volunteered to give a beginner and intermediate level of English. The ladies contributed in ways they found suitable for them, and the project was a great success. Spotting and solving our problems practically. In India, for example, the government of India and the Ministers of Agriculture, Education and Broadcasting started in 1967 Farmers Functional Literacy Program because they noticed that the majority of the population live in rural communities where agriculture is the main field of occupation. So they designed the program to have to cover not only the basic reading, writing, and arithmetic skills, but also the knowledge about agriculture strategies and approaches. Now, facilitating the access of adults in the families to this type of knowledge is the responsibility of every family. They not only tailored to what they needed and what they aspired, but also they solved two problems through one program. Now, that was a very practical solution. So as educators and parents, we can tell our learners and children about such types of programs and ask them to inquire about other fields and brainstorm practical solutions. Such solutions can be communicated and worked within our local communities. So like I said at the beginning, the literacy concern is a two-way path with two hard suitcases while we are going on that path. We are expected to support illiterate youth and adults and also work on children's literacy to mitigate future risks within a framework of digital learning. We have to work on educating adults to eradicate youth and adult illiteracy. But to truly do that, we have to solve literacy issues of children simultaneously. Otherwise, we will solve the issue temporarily. And so make sure you watch the other video about children's literacy because this will help in the understanding of the overall problem. So as this video comes to an end, adult learning education is a very broad subject and is challenging, but it is vital for achieving sustainable development, particularly the Sustainable Development Goal 4, SDG 4. In the 4th Global Report on Adult Learning and Education, Leave No One Behind, the powerful call for participation is mainly lifelong learning. And I believe that too. As it is said, life begins at 40. There is always a beginning, but we have to reflect, we have to plan, we have to act. Subscribe to view more from this series, Acts of Kind Attention. Let's nurture conscious learning and being.